Hi there. In this video, we'll be covering how much money can you make by publishing a book. The rewards from publishing a book can be massive, but your book has to stand apart in order for you to see the full benefits. By the end of this video, you will learn some of the ways to generate revenue from your book and why focusing on book sales, not a good idea. And stay tuned until the end of the video for a free opportunity that I really think you're going to enjoy. Let's dive in. It's interesting and difficult to try to put a dollar figure on every single book project. Sometimes books are written with no goal of revenue at all, and other times they're written with a focus on revenue, with opportunities for revenue. But I've worked with people who have used the books that we've written together to generate six-figure revenue, that they've used these books again and again and again over the course of years. It's really interesting for me to think about the fact that we've written this book, and then 2 and 3 years later, clients are signing up to work with this person. That, they're generating $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in one swoop from one client, and that piles up. 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Now that you're looking at $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. So it really depends. But it's so important to think about it in terms of your book as a long-term marketing asset, that here's an opportunity to promote yourself, to put yourself out there, to share and reveal your expertise, and to find and land new clients. In order to reap those benefits, in order to see those rewards, you need to connect your book with a high-leverage sales funnel. This is a sales funnel that you've been working on over the course of years. This is refined. You really understand what you're offering to people, and you have high-value, high-cost services attached to it. It's a matter of numbers. If you wind up with a low-cost option, maybe it's a course of some kind, and you charge $50 or $100, in order to see a lot of revenue from that, you have to get headcount. You need to get lots and lots of people in the door. And books are similar in the way. When you think about book sales, and you think about the opportunities of revenue from book sales, if you're charging $9.99, $12.99, even $28.99, you're only going to see a percentage of that in terms of royalties. Only a percentage of that money is going to come back to you. So in order to make a lot of money off of book sales, you would need to sell a lot of books, and that's not always the case. A lot of times when books are written and published and sold, they sell well below 500 or well below 1,000 copies. Most books don't sell even that number. So in terms of generating lots and lots of revenue from book sales, you would need to sell lots of copies. That's probably not going to happen. With the number of books that are out there in the world, and more books get published every single day, it's so competitive and it's so difficult to find readers. So you really want to focus on telling a great story and differentiating yourself, setting yourself apart from all the other books that are out there. But at the same time, you really need to connect these high-value services in order to drive revenue. This isn't, selling books to make money. This is selling high-leverage, high-touch opportunities to make lots of money. So again, avoid book sales. Don't worry about book sales. It's so easy to fall into that trap when you publish a book, to go on Amazon Author Central every Friday when the numbers update and look and see, how many did we sell this week? How many did we sell the week before? It's so easy when you publish a book to get into that cycle of going on Amazon Author Central every single week and looking at the sales totals from the previous week and, feeling great or feeling disappointed. Oh, we sold one more copy this week and one less this week. Let that go. Let that go. It doesn't matter. There are important trends to consider. There's important trends to think about in terms of if you're seeing an uptick, maybe why? What's the reason for that? And leaning into those things. Ultimately, don't get too high or too low on the number of readers, because where revenue is concerned, that's probably not going to matter too much. However, if you get your book into the right readers' hands, that's where opportunities really develop. Think about the opportunity of handing your book to 100 potential leads. How many of those leads could become clients of yours? Multiply that further and further. Every single time you give a speech, every single time you meet with somebody new, here's a copy of my book. How many of those opportunities and conversations are going to turn into something more? That's where the magic happens. That's where the excitement really comes in. And that's where the revenue potential is with books these days. And here's the flip side. without a sales funnel in place, you could wind up losing tens of thousands of dollars in terms of the production and creation of your book. You could pour all of this money into the book. You could pour a bunch of money into publicity and marketing efforts behind the book to try to increase its success. And you could end up losing lots and lots of money when you're going through this whole process. It can be very expensive to publish a book. If you're not careful and if you're not positioning your story the right way and positioning your message to connect to those specific readers and giving them an opportunity to work with you and driving opportunities forward that way, you could wind up, seeing losses of $10, $20, $30, $40,000 on the book from beginning to end. And again, maybe that's not something that worries you, but maybe it is. And if it is, think about the cost that you need, think about the services that you need to have done, and focus on the opportunities that can come from it. In order to avoid that fate, in order to maximize your potential, your book has to stand apart. It has to be original. It has to be creative and unique. You think about a book like Atomic Habits. I'm sure there's so many people who want to write another book like Atomic Habits. Here's another habits book. If your book is too much like Atomic Habits, no one's going to read it because they already have Atomic Habits. What makes your book different? Now, if you come out with a different habits-based book, there could be so much opportunity there, but it has to be original. It has to be creative. It has to stand apart. So you really need to do a lot of research in figuring out how your book stands in the marketplace. How does it compare to this? How does it compare to that? When I'm writing and publishing a book, I often think about what sets my message apart. What is different about this book that makes it stand apart from every other book that's ever been written? How does it compare and contrast to other titles in the space? Because that's ultimately what people are going to think about. If you can give them the example of it's Atomic Habits, but blank, it's this other thing, it's different. How is it different? How is it standing apart? How is it going to help people? You really need to figure out where your book stands in the marketplace, how it's unique and different, and really bringing out that uniqueness. You don't want it to read like every other book. You don't want it to be mundane and just commonplace. That's one of the reasons why I really discourage people from using AI and ChatGPT and other programs to write their book, because a lot of these programs are focused on sounding like everybody else. A lot of these large language model programs are based on a foundation of text from other sources. So if you use AI to write your book, it's going to sound like every other book. You don't want that. You want your uniqueness to come through. You want your sayings and perspectives to come through, and you're not going to have that if you lean on AI to write the book for you. Writing a book by itself is challenging, and now you're thinking about connecting the book to your deeper sales funnel, and you're thinking about making the book stand apart, and all these other things. It's a big challenge. And that's why people work with professionals like myself to help them unlock their message and make sure that their story is as powerful as possible. I work as a book ghostwriter. It's so meaningful and special to be able to help people unlock the power of their story, to really make their message stand out. And it's just an awesome thing. But a lot of times when books are written and published, there's so many people behind the scenes that are helping with that. So don't think of this as this journey you have to take yourself. It can be also really collaborative, when you work with a book ghostwriter, when you work with somebody to really empower your message and bring out the strength of it. There's a lot of opportunity there to really refine your message, to really unlock it, to understand it, to dig deep onto it, to connect pieces and dots that you didn't even know connected, to circle things forward, backward, spin it, in a new way. It's just really great to be able to see what your message means and how special it is, and making sure that you're bringing it out in the most special way. And, working with a ghostwriter or writing coach can really help you bring that out. If you want to learn more about how much money can you make from publishing a book, head to my website. It's called goodghostwriter.com. You can click the link below. There you can schedule a one-on-one strategy call with me. I would love nothing more than to talk with you about your book, learn more about it, give you some insights and perspectives of the journey forward, and share some ideas, share some perspectives, and point you in the right direction. It would just be great to connect and learn more about your story, and I'd love to help you any way I can. Remember, a good book can change your life. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.